Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss horror. And today I thought I would make a very quick video to let you guys know some of my favorites that are Amazon originals.
It's coffee time.
I believe I did a favorite video of Netflix horror originals, and to be fair, Netflix has such a wider variety of horror and thrillers, and also, in my personal opinion, the quality over at Netflix with those type of shows and movies is better. I wanted to make a video at some point about Amazon originals and which kind of horror or thriller I would recommend you to check out that are Amazon originals, but the list is so sparse. They do not have many horror and thrillers that are originals, even though they do have great shows and movies, but they are not Amazon originals. So this list is gonna be kind of short, but I wanted to make still a quick video in which I let you know which from those are my favorites or which ones do I think that are worth your time. Now, you might have heard me talking about some of these on my monthly wrap-ups or other type of videos, reviews that I have done, but nevertheless I wanted to make one short video compiling my favorites that are Amazon originals so that you guys know which ones are worth your time. So let's start with the movies, shall we? And honestly, there are not many Amazon original horror movies, and the ones that are out there were just not for me. They were just not my cup of tea, so I wouldn't really recommend it to people. So most of the horror that it is currently an Amazon original belongs to Welcome to the Blumhouse, which is a corporation that they did with Blumhouse Productions, and they released 8 movies in total. They made it in 2 waves of 4 movies each, and actually some of those are the ones that I'm here to recommend you for the most part. And let's start with one of my favorite. I think this was my favorite from the Welcome to the Blumhouse collection, and that is Nocturne. This is an American psychological horror thriller, and our main character is played by Sydney Sweeney, that you guys probably know from Euphoria. This was the 4th entry on the Welcome to the Blumhouse collection in this anthology, and it was, I believe, the favorite for most people. At least it was for me, and I feel like it has been one of the ones that has been more praised. Some critics say that this one maybe was perhaps a little bit too similar to something like Black Swan, but a lot of people did praise Sweeney for her performance as the lead, and I do agree that was one of the strongest parts of this film. And I think I also really enjoyed this movie because for me personally, it felt somehow like Asian horror. That might be just my perception of things, but I feel like that is also why I enjoyed this one so much, because it reminded me to one of those Asian Legends horror movies. The film follows a senior year music student at a top-tier arts academy who envies her increasingly accomplished twin sister. Then, when she finds a deceased classmate's notebook, the dynamic finds itself reversed. So we follow these 2 sisters, and basically they are both in this academy for the arts, and they are both playing instruments, and one of them is a lot better than the other, so of course there is rivalry between sisters, and that is kind of like the main thing of the film. I have to say that even though this movie didn't need any jump scares, it does have some really creepy moments. What I really liked as well is that this is a horror movie that for the most part takes place on the daylight, and it doesn't have your typical like really dark nighttime shots, and it is a little bit harder to make the horror come through when you're shooting something mostly on the daylight. But I did feel like the climax was definitely worth it. I did feel like it did a good job with creating a little bit of tension and atmosphere, and I would say that this is definitely one that you want to watch. And now let's go to my second favorite, which was one that I don't know if everybody loved, but I really enjoyed it, and that is The Manor. This is an American supernatural horror film, and for me the best part about this movie was the way they build things up, it starts kind of slow pace and things start to build up really well. The pacing was really well in this film. It was really nicely executed. This was the 8th and so far the last installment of Welcome to the Bloom House. I do hope that they do more in the future because I did enjoy binging the movies when they would come out. The focus on the last 4 movies was institutional horrors and personal phobias. So institutional horrors, we have here the Manor, which is actually a place where elderly people that are having trouble, you know, with life, like forgetting things, and they cannot just live by themselves anymore because they are careless sometimes and they can hurt themselves or, you know, set the house on fire. Then they are sent to this beautiful manor to spend the rest of their lives. Our main character, Judith, is sent to this manor after she has a stroke and she needs basically more attention, and her family decides it is time for her to go to this place. It follows 2 residents in this quiet nursing home. One of them begins to experience scary visions, which no one else believes to be real. Unfortunately, this disbelief persists when residents start mysteriously dying. What I really liked about this film was the discussion about, you know, these elderly homes and the way patients are treated, the way patients are talked to, the methods they use to calm them down, things like that. I really enjoyed that discussion. And also we have this mystery going on. People start acting shady. There's people that are being murdered or killed by something probably, and this one is one that, you know, you could really relate to the main character even though you are not at that stage in your life, but you know that everybody's gonna get old, so it's kind of something that you feel a little bit more related to. And I really loved the ending. I thought it was bonkers but perfect and I really enjoyed this one, so this is another one that I say definitely check it out. And then we have a director's debut that I thought was fantastic, and it could have been, you know, similar to a Jordan Peele film, and that is Master. In Master, we follow the first Black headmaster of an elite New England university, and the university has an ugly history, but the worst might not be in the past. So this movie follows 3 women that are trying to find their place at this university while weird things start to happen. And this one is, of course, a movie that is addressing people of color, it's addressing racism, so, you know, bear in mind that it's going to be a strong topic that it is being portrayed in this film. What this movie has is a lot of depth on the story, and I really enjoyed it. I think the performances were also really great. I think that most people did not enjoy it as much because they were hoping for something a little bit more scary with a lot more of horror, and that wasn't there. So don't go into this one expecting a lot of horror. Like even Jordan Peele's films, they don't always have a huge amount of horror, if you know what I mean, but it is horror. In this case, it was chilling, but it was not scary. It is one of those movies that basically you end up realizing that nothing supernatural, nothing demon-like is scarier than reality and people in the real world. And then we have another one that I had a little bit of mixed feelings when I first saw it, but you know, with time I have learned to appreciate this movie a lot more, and I ended up loving it more later on, and that is Black Box. This is a horror science fiction movie. It was the second one released on Welcome to the Blumhouse collection, and it has been a lot of people's favorite, and I can see why, because the performances are amazing. You really truly relate to our main character. You're really rooting for him. You're feeling everything that he's feeling, and this gives you, it's kind of like also a little bit of a psychological challenge at times, and I think that this is also a really solid watch. The plot follows a single father who agrees to an experimental procedure for amnesia. His memory has been decimated ever since the car accident that also took his wife, but the procedure to gain what he's been lost could cost him everything he has left. So we have this poor man that has basically lost nearly everything in a car accident, and now he's also losing his memory. So he agrees to participate in this experimental procedure, not really knowing what he was getting himself into. The thing with this movie is that it is more on the emotional side, more on the portraying your feelings, and more of a drama perhaps than scary or anything really like full-on horror, which is something else that, you know, for some people might have been something that didn't work in the film, because it's not really scary. It's not a perfect film. It doesn't have jump scares or things like that. It's kind of like a puzzle, and you're sometimes wondering what things are part of the real world or what parts are kind of like a mindfuck. So yeah, this one is another one that I do recommend you guys to check out if you haven't yet. And the last movie that I would like to talk about is not actually a horror movie, but this is a Amazon original that I feel like has been really underrated, and it is fantastic, and that is The Vast of Night. This is a sci-fi movie, really low budget, really kind of feels intimate, but this took something that has been done 1,000 times before, and it managed to do this film without falling into any of those tropes, and also with such a low budget brought us amazing cinematography. This is a science fiction mystery film that follows two kids in New Mexico in 1950s that are searching for the source of a mysterious frequency that has descended on their town. Now, when you have a movie about an UFO, you know, about alien ship that is flying over a town in the 1950s, there is so many cliches, so many tropes, everything has been done before, and this movie manages to do something slightly different, and that is the beauty of this film. The thing is that this movie is not trying to tell you what happens, it's trying to tell you how everything happened, how things came to be, and it is a very dark film. It is mostly filmed, you know, basically it's all at night, and the atmosphere is just fantastic. This is a movie that I watched, it was recommended to me, I believe, and I was pleasantly surprised. It is a slow burner, but if you love sci-fi, this is a must-watch for you. And now let's move to TV shows, and to be honest with you, there is only one TV show that it is an Amazon original that is horror that I actually would recommend, even though as the season went forward, I felt like it lost some of the impact, and that is Them. Them is a show that had 10 episodes. It started really strong for me, and then it kind of started to lose that power. A black family moves from North Carolina to an all-white Los Angeles neighborhood in 1953, where their idyllic home becomes ground zero for malevolent forces. So basically, this is a story about the supernatural, but also about the evil of humans. It also, of course, is addressing here racism in a neighborhood and how people of color, black people in this case, are treated differently just because of the color of their skin. And the thing with this film was that they focus, I feel like, so much on all of those things that we lost a little bit of the scary things, even though there is some really disturbing images going on and there were many excellent moments when it comes to horror. I felt like it was repetitive, and when I was already through the middle of the show, I started to lose interest. But I feel like it was so beautifully shot. It has really good cinematography. The acting is really great, so I still feel like if you have not watched it, you should at least give it a go. And now I have a couple of mentions of shows that I don't think that are great, but I thought they were a fun watch for one time, and one of them is the show Panic. This I just watched because it's based on a book, and it's kind of like for younger audiences, is more based for targeted to teenagers, but I thought it was a lot of fun. So, you know, for one watch, I do recommend you guys to check this one out. Every summer in a small Texas town, graduating seniors compete in a series of challenges which they believe is their only chance to escape their circumstances and make their lives better. However, as they go through the challenges, they get harder and harder, and not just that, but they get really dangerous to the point where you might even lose your own life. The next show that I think it's okay, but it didn't blow me away, is The Purge. There are 2 seasons at the moment, and it is obviously a spin-off based on the movies. I thought it was okay, but it didn't like give me everything that I wanted. With ties to the films, the series revolves around an alternate dystopian United States ruled by a totalitarian government that sanctions a 12-hour period which legalizes all crimes, including vandalism, theft, arson, and murder. The first season follows a group of different characters that seemingly have nothing in common, and they all have to go through the purge. And there are people here that actually offer themselves for sacrifice in Purge Night, which was an interesting thing to see. But like I said, this was just a fun watch. It was fine, but it's not something that I would say, oh my god, you have to watch this. I think if you've enjoyed the movies as much as I did, you should give it a chance and see if you enjoy it. And one that I would not recommend you because I thought it was awful and it was painful for me to go through it was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, this is also based on a YA novel by Lois Duncan, and of course it's another spin-off from a, movie franchise, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it was horrible. Teenagers are stalked by a mysterious killer a year after a fatal accident on the night of their graduation. And that is the premise of the show, as was the premise of the movie. And I gotta tell you that they tried to do something different with the TV show, and at the beginning I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I see they're trying to bring me something new, something different. They're giving the story a twist. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, obviously. I'm not here to spoil it for you, even though I would not recommend you to watch it. But it started kind of okay-ish, and then I just felt like I had to finish it just for the sake of finishing it, but I lost all interest. I was bored. I had enough. It was bad. And there you have it. Here are some of my favorite Amazon original shows and movies that are horror and I would recommend you guys to check out. I think I might make another video of non-horror TV shows and movies, maybe from Amazon Prime, because there are some shows that I thought were fairly decent, but they are not horror, so I didn't mention them here. So let me know if you would be interested in that. If there's anything else maybe that I missed that is an Amazon horror original that you loved, let me know down below. Maybe I missed it, because when you're browsing through Amazon, there's so much going on there that it is hard sometimes to keep up and filter things. They don't have the best tools, let me be honest there. I feel like other websites have a way better searching system than Amazon does, just putting it out there. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give the video a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you all, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!